Brothers in Arms video in 2025. This could get a bit interesting here. For those that don't know, 20 years ago, Brothers in Arms released the first one, Road to Hill 30. And if you don't know the game, it was pretty much a tactical shooter, but you were in the first-person mode as well. But you can overall, go overview and order a squad around to also complete tasks. It also had a really good narrative, a really good story. And although that some of the aspects of the game don't age very well, if you go back and play a lot of those games, a lot of them haven't aged very well. There is so much potential for this franchise that I feel like has just been left dormant at the feet of Gearbox and Ubisoft. As we know, both of those developers and publishers don't have the best upper management, and they haven't made very good ideas for a while. Case in point, when the fourth game of this franchise was going to come out, it was kind of like a comical version of Inglourious Bastards, which is just not what this game is about. It is quite authentic. Even though it doesn't look at here, a lot of the uniforms and a lot of the maps were one-to-one, very much reminiscent of the area that you were in. A lot of detail went into these games, and they sold quite well. Most of them cleared the million mark in sales, and just for scope, like Call of Duty would do about 4 million every single year, and Gears of War would be around 2. So, the fact it was a game that didn't necessarily compete with them, but it really had a loyal fan base, and it was just a much-loved game back in, the days before when you picked up physical media. Now, they haven't done anything with it. The fourth game, after the concept trailer and everyone just said, absolutely not, I think got spun into Battleborn, or elements of it got spun into Battleborn, which didn't do very well either. At least by what I could look at, I never played the game. But yeah, it just seems like such a wasted opportunity. I was going through the problems with Ubisoft and going through some of their IPs, and as the publisher, they have this as an IP. And it's just like, man, that would do well. And there's so many different spin-off games that you can make from this. Like, you could make a XCOM kind of variety game as well. Like, you could say, Brothers and, Tactics or something on those lines. And there's so many different theaters of war that you can send this into. Pretty much it got up to the Battle of the Bulge. It just where you left off was Market Garden in World War II. And it doesn't necessarily need to be allies, or, you can start following other stories and have multiple games in development. Because if this game is good and it tells the narrative like it did back, 20 years ago, the 2008 version is what you're watching right now. And the narrative in this game was awesome. It told a story through everything that was going on the screen. The cutscenes were phenomenal, and you really looked forward to them. Like, it was one of those games where you looked forward to a good cutscene. Very similar to Gears of War in that sense, where you were just kind of like, oh boy, I need to really get into that realm. And it's not really where games are at the moment. When was the last game that you saw that just had really, really good cutscenes that told a story as a single player game that was a shooter? And it did come out in the era, post Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers, where this was the be-all and end-all. Medal of Honor had its day, but, there was still a lot of room for this type of game, and they did something very different and didn't need to compete with the Call of Duties of the world. I think if you released a franchise like this now, it would go gangbusters. It really would. And the fact that you could bolt on extra things, you could have some DLC for some extra revenue as the game comes out. You could make it a life of service game, even though I don't want to it. I don't want to say that, but look, I know what year it is and I know where we're at in life. So, you could look at that where you start putting in more campaigns, more missions as you go along. But this game was phenomenal when it first came out. Now, going back to play it now, obviously there was some rose-colored goggles, as I mentioned. The controls are a little bit rough. But, it obviously is just, a couple of console generations removed. So there are some janky things that were the norm back then that just aren't now. But the level of effort that went into this game is still something that is noticed now. And the narrative and the stories involved here is phenomenal. And it dealt with very adult themes for a game too. It really was. It followed Baker, who was a squad leader that didn't really want to be a squad leader. It was kind of thrust into that moment. And when you do lead your squad to die, you feel it. You feel it in this game. I remember the first time I led my squad into an MG ambush, and I played, and I'm talking 20 years ago, where I led them to an MG ambush because I missed where an MG was. And yeah, that was it. That was it. They're gone. I need to write some letters when we're done. It just really showed that, you felt that you're the reason why they died. So you really did take on that role as a squad leader. And there's just not a game like it nowadays. And like I said, you could definitely spin it off and do like a tactics version to get like an XCOM kind of game. I know XCOM doesn't have a license on those things. I just think a lot of people know the mainstream of that kind of game. But there's so many different ways that you could tell these stories and have, I don't want to say a universe, but like a franchise that's built off this that just comes out every few years, does quite commercially well, and you've pretty much got the assets and the packs here to go wild with it. But they just haven't. And that's clear because of the cost that was involved to sell this, to be able to set up everything, just because everything was so in-depth, which is disappointing. Just because everyone kind of... I find in gaming right now, everyone wants like that quick sugar hit. They don't want to put in the work anymore. And it just shows. It really does show there isn't like an in-depth historical games as there once was. There are, and maybe real-time strategy games, but when it comes to narrative, the last few years, there just hasn't been a lot. There is a game in the works, apparently. I'm curious where, if it's a remake or a redo. But it was announced a long time ago. It's like 2021 that there was a game in the works. And, we're now looking at 4 years. We haven't seen anything in that space. So that's a bit of a worry. The other thing would be there was a TV show meant to be in the works, which is actually going to be rumored to be about the sort of the practice run of D-Day, where actually a lot of casualties happen. So go research that if you've got a moment, because it is a fascinating story. But yeah, they were kind of doing a bit of a dry run of what that might do, but they got the live ammunition thing wrong. So yeah, there was going to be a TV show, but again, that was announced to be working on during COVID. Since then, it might still be in the works just because you had COVID and then writing strikes, but I don't think so. I think like we probably would have got something if by now. Like at least there's some inkling that people have been hired and working on it, but you never know. But yeah, I just really think that this would have been an easy run. Like there's a work to be involved, but I just think like the market right now doesn't have a game like this, and if there's attention to detail and it's done well, people will absolutely lap it up. Now, this game isn't for everyone. I know. It is very far away to where Call of Duty is today. But that's not a bad thing. You don't need to compete with Call of Duty. You don't need to compete with Fortnite. You just don't need to. You can make your own game and it be a commercial success and do well. But obviously we just need these massive sugar hits. And it definitely happens as companies get way, 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 way too big. A good game doesn't help them move the ledger because they need double-digit growth every year. So, it's a lot. It's a lot going on right now in the gaming industry. But I just think that this game would cut right through in this market right now. There's just not really a World War II shooter like it. As, you can go into Vietnam, you can go into the Korean War. That's a very underdone war that I think would suit this style of game compared to other games telling the Korean War story, just because it is a story of mostly retreat from one side or the other side. Pretty much it's retreat, America rocks up, retreat, China rocks up, retreat, and then stalemate, and then we're still stalemated. That's the Korean War in a nutshell. But yeah, there's still a lot of things that you can do. Like, I don't think you could really get too far when it comes to, like, modern warfare, just because planes and everything become such a set run. But yeah, it's a small squad. It's on a mission to do a task. So it is very much like a lot of the episodes of Band of Brothers. It's, pretty much all of Saving Private Ryan, which is a small squad off to go do something. And there's just so many different stories and so many different little battles that you can tell in this game. If you wanted to go the woman route, there was a lot of, like, espionage, female characters in the war too. I feel like there's a lot of, like, untold stories there, so you might be able to, it might be a smaller squad, but there was a lot of, like, espionage and things done by women. So there's another sort of avenue that you can go down that route that I think would lend itself well to this kind of game, because it's not about all-out scale warfare. It's not about a D-Day launch. It's about, hey, you need to take down these artillery guns, or there's a mission where you take down glider posts so gliders can land. But obviously it's a bit of a fortified position because the Germans don't want gliders to land there, pretty much. I also would like to see the other side of this, like a German side of this kind of game where you get to fight some battles as the German side of things. Obviously, maybe not with some Nazi paraphernalia, just because I think we can remove ourselves from that a little bit. But from a historical standpoint, when there's historical reenactments of these wars, there are people that play the Germans. And some of them, the Germans won. So, as much as they are the bad guys, and I think we can all agree at that, there's also 80 years have passed now since the war. So I think we can look at some battles on that side of the fence as well. Anyway, I just thought I'd make a video on it. It really just leapt out to me that this IP is just kind of sitting there, and there's been some like little stop-start things happening. And who knows, there might be an announcement on it shortly and this video becomes redundant. If so, hit the subscribe button. And if it hasn't been made redundant, hit the subscribe button. Pretty much just hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button otherwise, and comment down below. Just let us know anything to do with this game or anything that sparked a conversation in your mind from this video, and we respond to pretty much everything that comes through, so as best we can. Some people say some wild things that has nothing to do with anything, but anyway. But I love them. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to edit this up, cut this up, and get on out of here. My name is Brenton. This is RetalinLive. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. See you, and bye.